"You people don't belong in a place like this. It drags the whole neighborhood down." Those words, spat with the venom of a lifelong grudge, weren't the start of the war, but they were the moment it went nuclear. They came from a woman I'd spent a year trying to appease, a woman whose hatred for me and my son had festered until it erupted in a hospital room, with my boy lying there, his leg shattered, and her refusing to help. This is the story of how I fought back, not with fists, but with strategy, and brought down a tyrant in our suburban paradise. I'm James Carter, an architect, 52 years old, and my life's work is designing spaces where people feel safe and whole. After years of grinding in the city, I finally built that space for myself and my son, Ethan, who was 9 when we moved to Maple Grove Estates. Picture it, a postcard-perfect suburb with emerald lawns, ancient elms shading the streets, and a community pool that gleamed like a jewel. Our new home, a 2-story colonial with a sprawling backyard, was where Ethan could kick a soccer ball, ride his bike until dusk, and just be a kid. For the first few months, it was heaven. We grilled burgers, planted flowers, and laughed under the stars. Neighbors dropped off welcome baskets, and life felt like a reward for years of hard work. Then I met Helen Brooks, the queen of Maple Grove's Homeowners Association. She lived across the street, her lawn so flawless it could have been a putting green, her face perpetually sour under a tennis visor. Within a week of moving in, I got a certified letter from her, citing a violation. Our new basketball hoop was an unapproved structure visible from the road. It had been up for 6 hours. That letter was the first shot in what became a relentless campaign. Next came a $50 fine for our aesthetically displeasing garden hose. Then complaints about Ethan and his friends laughing too loudly in our yard, or our trash cans hitting the curb an hour too early. She even called the police over my quiet jazz playlist during a barbecue, claiming it was a public nuisance. The officer, embarrassed, apologized, but Helen was undeterred. Her husband, Roger, was her silent shadow, a stiff man with a permanent smirk, always nodding behind her. Their son, Tyler, 16, was different, quiet, withdrawn, ducking his head whenever I saw him, like he was trying to vanish. I felt for the kid, trapped in that house. The racial undertones were impossible to ignore. Helen never said black outright, but her complaints targeted anything that hinted at our culture: the jerk chicken on our grill, the R&B at our parties, Ethan's joyful noise. It was a message: you're not welcome. She wanted us gone from the dream I'd built. I tried to be the bigger man. I paid her fines, coiled the hose, and moved the hoop into the garage nightly. But appeasement only made her bolder. The breaking point came on the 4th of July. I threw a barbecue for family and the few neighbors who'd been kind, hoping to reclaim our place in Maple Grove. The backyard was alive with laughter, ribs sizzling, and kids racing through sprinklers. I even slipped an invitation into Helen's mailbox, a naive olive branch. Then 2 police cars rolled up, lights flashing. Helen, standing on her lawn, had called them, claiming aggressive behavior and illegal drugs. My aunt was teaching Ethan the electric slide. The most dangerous thing in our yard was a water gun. The officers saw through her lies, but the damage was done. My family was shaken, and Ethan, eyes wide, asked, "Dad, why did she lie? How do you explain racism to a 9-year-old?" I hugged him and said, "Some people are just unhappy, son, and they want everyone else to be too." Across the street, Helen watched from her window, smirking. That was the moment I stopped playing nice. This wasn't about hoops or hosts, it was about my son's safety. I had to fight back, not with anger, but with precision. As an architect, I see patterns, flaws, and stress points. I started observing Helen's life the way she scrutinized mine. I noticed Roger's commute, Helen's tennis club schedule, and, most intriguingly, Tyler's late-night escapes. A few times, working late in my office, I saw him sneak out around 10 p.m., heading to a small park at the end of our cul-de-sac. One night, curiosity got the better of me. I took a walk, blending into the shadows, and found Tyler in the park's gazebo, sitting close with someone, their voices soft. I couldn't see who, but the tenderness was unmistakable, a stark contrast to the frightened boy I knew. Over weeks, I pieced it together. Tyler was meeting a girl, a black girl, in secret. The irony was staggering. Helen, who despised people like us, had a son in love with someone she'd deem unworthy. I locked this knowledge away, a weapon I hoped never to use. Exposing a teenager's romance felt wrong, but in a war, you keep every tool. The real battle came months later, on an ordinary October Saturday. Ethan, now 10, had mastered his bike and begged to ride to the playground. "Stay on the sidewalk," I said, smiling as he pedaled off, helmet gleaming. 45 minutes later, my phone rang. A woman's voice, urgent. "Your son's had an accident." My world stopped. I raced to the park, where Ethan sat on a bench, his leg grotesquely bent, tears streaming. Paramedics confirmed a fractured tibia. In the ambulance, guilt gnawed at me. Hadn't I gone with him? At Northwood Regional Hospital, they whisked Ethan for an X-ray, leaving me to drown in paperwork. Finally, a nurse sent me to room 4. I pushed open the door, expecting to comfort my boy, and froze. There stood Helen Brooks, in scrubs, her name tag glaring. Charge nurse. Her eyes, cold with contempt, locked onto mine. "What are you doing here?" she snapped as if I'd invaded her kingdom. "I'm here for my son," I said, moving to Ethan's side. He looked confused, recognizing the mean lady from across the street. Helen studied Ethan's chart with exaggerated disdain. "A fall at the park. Unsupervised, I presume." The accusation stung. Neglectful father, reckless black family. Rage surged, but Ethan's frightened eyes kept me steady. "He's a 10-year-old who fell off a bike," I said. "He needs an X-ray and pain meds. Can we focus on that?" She slammed the clipboard down. "I'm the charge nurse. I handle assignments, and this situation is unstable." Pointing at me, she declared, "You are unstable, agitated, hostile. I've dealt with you before. You're a nuisance in our community. I won't have you causing a scene in my hospital." It was gaslighting so brazen it stole my breath. She was weaponizing my worry to paint me as a threat, justifying her refusal to treat Ethan, who was now crying softly. "You're refusing to help my son because of a basketball hoop," I whispered. "I'm protecting my staff from a violent individual," she shouted, loud enough for the hall to hear. "Security needs to be called. We'll treat the boy once you're removed." She wanted me arrested, and my son left alone, to win her petty war. I was trapped. If I raised my voice, I'd prove her right. If I did nothing, Ethan suffered. Then I saw his trembling lip and a cold resolve took over. I pulled out my phone, discreetly starting a voice recording. "Let me be clear," I said evenly. "My name is James Carter. My son, Ethan Carter, in room 4, has a fractured tibia. You, the charge nurse, are refusing him treatment because of a personal issue with me. Is that correct?" Her face twitched at recording, but she doubled down. "You're a security risk. It's my professional judgment." She stormed out, promising to fetch the administrator and guards. Ethan whimpered. "Dad, is she making us leave?" I knelt by him. "No one's making us leave. I'm getting you a doctor." In the hallway, Helen was gesturing wildly to a suited man and 2 security guards. The administrator, a flustered man in his 50s, approached. "There's a situation," he began. I cut in, "The phone's recording. Your charge nurse is denying my son treatment over a neighborhood grudge." I have her rant recorded, including where she calls me unstable for being a worried father. The word "recorded" shifted the air. The administrator stammered about hospital policy, but I pressed. "Is withholding care from a child hospital policy? Racial bias in assignments? I'll play this for your board, the state, and every news outlet unless you get my son a doctor now." Trapped, he turned to Helen. "Take your break," he ordered. She glared, pure hatred, and stalked off. A kind nurse took over, giving Ethan pain relief. It was a win, but hollow. Helen wasn't fired, just sidelined. I knew this wasn't over. That night, with Ethan asleep in his cast, I sat in my office, the audio file backed up on every device. Helen's power came from her image, the righteous matriarch of Maple Grove. To defeat her, I had to shatter that facade. Tyler's secret romance was the key, but I couldn't exploit young love. Instead, I'd expose her hypocrisy without harming the kids. My plan had 3 phases. First, I needed the girl's identity. One evening, I saw the familiar sedan at the park. I waited, then followed it to a modest neighborhood 15 minutes away. A public records search revealed the family, the Thompsons. Phase 2 was riskier, winning their trust. I wrote a letter detailing Helen's harassment, the hospital incident, and Tyler's relationship with their daughter, Sarah. I stressed I wasn't targeting the kids. I wanted to protect our families from Helen's bigotry. After agonizing days, Mr. Thompson called. We talked for an hour. Two fathers united by a shared threat. He saw Helen's danger to Sarah and agreed to help. Phase 3 was the stage. Helen had called an HOA meeting to discuss resident conduct, spinning the hospital incident to paint herself as a victim. She wanted me sanctioned, maybe evicted. I replied to her community email. This meeting is a great idea. I have information about community safety to share. The trap was set. The clubhouse buzzed with tension, neighbors whispering under fluorescent lights. Helen, in a crisp pantsuit, opened with a sanctimonious speech, branding my family a blight. She recounted the hospital, claiming I'd threatened her. Murmurs spread. I sat still, a manila envelope in my lap. When the floor opened, I stood. I'd like to play something, I said, connecting my phone to a speaker. Helen's voice filled the room. You are unstable. I won't have you causing a scene. We'll treat the boy once you're removed. Gasps erupted. Helen shrieked. That's illegal. I turned off the speaker. The context? My son, with a broken leg, was denied care because this woman didn't like my basketball hoop. She endangered a child to settle a score. The room shifted. But this isn't just about me, I continued. It's about her community standards of intolerance. I paused, eyes on Tyler, who looked mortified. She thinks certain people, certain loves, don't belong. The back door opened. The Thompsons walked in, Mr. and Mrs. Thompson and Sarah. They stood beside me. This is the Thompson family, I said. Their daughter is in a loving relationship with her son. The room gasped. Helen's face collapsed, her son frozen in the back. Mr. Thompson spoke. My daughter's wonderful, and that boy's a good kid, terrified of his mother. Is this who you want leading your community? Helen's fortress crumbled. She stammered, voiceless. The HOA board dissolved within days, its members resigning in shame. The community shunned Helen and Roger. I sent the hospital a package, the recording, my statement, and Mr. Thompson's, demanding Helen's firing. 2 weeks later, she was gone. A for sale sign appeared on their lawn. They fled within a month. Tyler, free from his mother's grip, moved in with Sarah's grandparents, finishing high school happy. Maple Grove healed. New neighbors, a doctor, and his family moved in. The HOA became reasonable. The basketball hoop stayed up, and Ethan's leg mended, leaving just a scar and a story. I filed a civil suit against Helen and the hospital, not for money, but to set a precedent. It's ongoing, but the queen is gone, her kingdom ashes. Ethan plays in our driveway, fearless, and that's victory enough. What do you think? Have you faced injustice or abuse of power in your life? Share your thoughts in the comments. Do you believe my approach was justified, or did I go too far? Let's discuss what justice means in a world that often feels unfair.